Hello there carpologists, I'm Joe, and today and the next 2 days I'm going to be fishing. Behind me is Fields Lake in Abingdon, one of the latest additions to the list of lakes run by Embryo. Now I've never seen this place before. I'm aware of what roughly the stock is and what depths and things, but I've never even seen this in person until now. So I'm going to have a quick walk around, talk to some of the anglers that are on here, see what's what, where the fish are showing, get set up, and hopefully over the next 48 hours we'll get some fish for the camera. I've been here just over an hour now, not even completed a full lap of the lake, but a lad just up in the top corner just had a lovely stocky. He's had a couple of runs and lost a few in the weed, but fish have been coming out, and that's where I was recommended by the bailiffs that fish were showing. They're heading on very, very shortly, so I'm going to go back to the car, get the gear and start moving around. The weather this evening isn't meant to be very good. We've got a gale force winds coming in about 50 mile an hour and heavy rain, so I want to get batten down the hatches before that comes in, but I'm going to brave it up there with the wind pushing in and hope that the fish stay with the wind. It's a beautiful lake, I think you'll agree. Lovely little nooks and crannies to look around in, but I've got to get the rods out. So let's go get the rods. It's just coming up 4:30 and I haven't even eaten yet. It's been pretty full on trying to get everything sorted before the weather changes. We're due to get about 50 mile an hour winds and heavy rain this evening, so I wanted to get everything sorted before then, and everything is pegged down as hard as possible just in case the wind really does hack up into this swim. When I first got in the swim, I put the marker float out, had a little feel about, and it became quite apparent that close in there's quite a lot of weed, so to get past that I had to cast a bit further. So the left two rods are in 8 foot of water at 17, 18 wraps, and I've got a few sponfuls of boilie and crushed boilie over that. Fishing on 2 different pop-ups just to see what works, and then the right rod is at 14.5 wraps, a bit further round in about 7 foot of water with a really high vis pink pop-up and just 1 or 2 spoms over that. So a few different tactics, but still going with the boilie approach because at the moment on this lake it's boilie and pellet only. So that's what I'm going with. I'm feeling pretty confident and just waiting for the weather to change. So it's time to get some food on, sit back and enjoy the rest of the evening before it starts to pour down. Morning everyone. As you can see, I survived the night, and from the previous clips you can see just how strong the wind got, and we're still having some pretty strong winds. It's meant to stay all throughout the day, still pushing over 40-mile-an-hour winds. Last night we had up to about 50, and the peak on the bivvy inverted itself a few times, so about 2:30 in the morning I was out there trying to batten everything down so that I didn't lose it. It's a very, very rough night and not a lot of sleep, so I'm finally getting around to a recast, and it's coming up midday actually. So I thought I'd show you the setup I'm using, and I'm using a helicopter setup. I've been using helicopters for quite a lot of my fishing. I just love the presentation and how tangle free it is. Starting off down here, we've got a heli-safe system, and then I'm onto a leadless leader with a couple of beads and the rig in between. So the beads can slide up and down, so I can position the rig exactly where I want it. Although I found some clear patches, there is still little banks of weed and small little patches, so I want the rig to settle down amongst the weed, but just on top if it does end up landing on a bit of weed. Moving on to the rig, I'm using a stiff hinge. So like I said, I'm fishing over some weedy patches. Not everything is completely clear, so I want something just to settle down nicely, popped up off the bottom, that's not going to be getting masked by weed and things. So with this setup, I know that the rig's going to land perfectly and just slowly float down. Now the rig itself is a stiff hinge, like I said, and we recently tied this up in the office. I'll put the link in the description below, so if you want to tie it up you can. And it's very nice and simplistic, and just flutters down and sits perfectly on top of any debris. So that's what I'm fishing with. I really like the setup. I'm yet to catch a fish, but I'm still confident in what I'm using, and hopefully we'll have some fish today and into tomorrow. Here we go. The weather has taken a turn for the worse, and it's now raining quite heavily, although it's a little bit of respite right now, but this one went off right in the middle of a downpour. Lovely 11-pound stocky on the right rod, which was only 14 wraps out with a few spons over the top. So thank you very much. Saved me from a blank, and let's hopefully get a few more of you now that I've caught one. I'm obviously doing something right. Quickly show you the other side because it's a beautiful scaly little thing. Really plump fish. And there's the other side. Real happy with that. Let's get him back and hopefully have some more. This one's more like it. Well, I was just spodding out on top of this rod and it went. This is more like it, 26.14. So second fish, lost one earlier after the first stocky, but happy days. This is a bit more the size I was after. Absolutely impaled in the middle of the bottom lip as you saw in the previous shot. Get in, finally getting into some fish. Let's get it back. Well, we're now over the halfway point in the session, and so far I'd call it a success. I've had 4 runs, but unfortunately 2 of them have done me in the weed, but the 2 I have landed have been lovely fish. That small stocky to start with at 12 o'clock that came in the heavy rain, and then obviously that 26.14 mirror that I had about an hour ago. And actually that's my second ever biggest carp, so I'm super happy with those captures, and from a new venue it couldn't have asked for more. Now, as you all know, I'm fishing on Fields Lake, and at the very start of the video I told you it's the latest addition to the list of lakes run by Embryo. Now, for those of you that don't know what Embryo is, it's an angling scheme that's been set up by Corder's main man, Danny Fairbrass, in protecting the future of our carp fishing. Embryo was set up to serve 2 main functions, one of which to buy and lease their own fisheries, much like this one. This is to give anglers access to great venues such as this one, venues which are well maintained, well looked after and protected from otter predation, and it's just built to last for the future. The second main element to Embryo is helping other fisheries to last a little bit longer when they need a bit of a helping hand. Mainly otter fences, big problem in the carp world with otters ruining fisheries, and even places local to me that have been decimated by them because they just didn't get protected in time. So they offer to help and cheaper prices on otter fences to protect your fisheries. Now that's Embryo in a nutshell. Please visit the website for more details on all that they do. But I'm also going to hand over to Jeff, one of the bailiffs here, who's going to tell you a little bit more about this lake and what Embryo has done to help them.
Hello there, I'm Jeff Adams, the bailiff of Fields Lake. It's been taken over about a year ago by Embryo. It was run as a club for about 4 or 5 years, a local club. No longer wanted to pay the lease, and Embryo were approached and they've taken it over, and it's all been fenced off by the Embryo team. There's a lake next door which is also going to be fenced off at some period in time. Basically just a 15-acre gravel pit with a low stock, and unfortunately a lot of the fish were being taken by otters. The river's only 100 yards behind us, or behind the camera I should say, and otters were getting in on frequent occasions, most evenings, most nights, on the 3 lakes that are dotted along here. And Embryo decided to fence it, done a fantastic job, and restocked it with quite a few fish, going into the hundreds, and yeah, all's good at the moment. We've got a membership of around just over 50 guys, weekdays and weekends, split into 2 rotas, and everyone's happy really. Everything's been fine. It's been a good venture so far for all concerned.
Well, the sun has just set behind the camera, and this evening couldn't be any different to yesterday. By yesterday we were probably pushing winds of 30 mile an hour, waiting for the 40, 50 mile an hour winds, and the rain was coming in. Whereas this evening, almost no cloud in the sky, the wind has died right off. It's a bit cooler, but a lot nicer to be in. So rods are out still. I haven't recast them for the last couple of hours, but I know they're in good spots. The rigs I know are going to be sitting perfectly where they are. Nice bit of bait around them, so it's just a waiting game. And if I don't have anything else, I'm not going to be bothered. I've caught enough fish to keep me happy, but it would always be nice to have another one. I'm going to enjoy the rest of the evening, sink a few more of my favourite Somerset goodness, and I'll see you in the morning if we don't have anything else. Morning everyone. What I'd love to do right now is show you some fish that I caught last night, but unfortunately I can't do that because I didn't catch any. Completely quiet night. What I did do, however, is catch up on the sleep that I didn't get the first night. A full 9 hours sleep last night, so that's spot on. But I wound in the rods this morning, all looked fine, just simply didn't have any takes. So I've re-clipped them back up, put them back out with fresh baits, a few more spawns over the top, and that's it for the morning. I'm here for a few more hours, so we could pick up one more fish, but if not, I can't complain. I've had a great session, caught some lovely fish, and I hope you've enjoyed watching it as well. A big thank you to everyone that's let me onto this lake. Shout out to the 2 bailiffs, Steve and Jeff, who have been really hospitable to me while I've been here, made my stay a lot nicer. And they're just, yeah, been a great venue. So if you want to find out more about Embryo, as I discussed before, do visit their website, because I only scratched the surface on what I was talking about. So please do have a look into that and see what they do. And if you want to find out more about the rig I've been using, then do watch the Ology fix, which I'll put a link in the description below. And that's what I've been using on here. So that will show you how to tie it up and how it performs underwater. And what I've done today is shown you that it works. So I hope you enjoyed this. Please hit like if you like the video. Make sure you follow us on all social media platforms. I do a lot of work on the Instagram, and when I'm at a session like this, I do a lot of regular updates on the Instagram story. So if you don't follow us on there, please do head over for a little bit of extra content. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please hit like if you did, and I'll see you again soon. Cheers, guys.